Did you know that a secret prophecy from 1917 might be unfolding right now in America? The Third Secret of Fatima, hidden for decades, contains shocking details about world events, and now we're seeing signs that it's coming true in the USA. In this video, we'll reveal how current headlines match up with this mysterious prediction. From political upheaval to religious persecution, you'll see how each piece of the prophecy fits into today's news. But there's one part of the secret that nobody's talking about, and it could change everything. You might be surprised to learn that the Third Secret of Fatima wasn't revealed until the year 2000. That's right. For over 80 years, this mysterious message was kept under wraps, fueling speculation and conspiracy theories around the world. Let's go back to where it all began. In 1917, 3 young shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to have witnessed apparitions of the Virgin Mary. During these encounters, they were entrusted with 3 secrets. The first 2 were revealed relatively quickly, but the third, it remained hidden for decades. The mystery surrounding the third secret deepened as the years went by. Why was it kept hidden for so long? What could be so shocking or controversial that the Vatican felt the need to conceal it from the world? These questions haunted believers and skeptics alike for generations. The Vatican's official explanation for the delay was that the time wasn't right for its revelation. They claimed that the secret was meant for a specific period in history, and revealing it too soon could lead to misinterpretation or panic. But this explanation didn't satisfy everyone. Many believed there was more to the story. As the new millennium approached, pressure mounted on the Church to reveal the secret. Finally, in 2000, Pope John Paul II made the decision to release it to the public. But even then, controversy persisted. Some Vatican insiders, including Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict XVI, hinted that there might be more to the secret than what was officially revealed. This fueled intense debate. Was the full secret really disclosed? Or was there still something being hidden from the public? Theories range from predictions of global catastrophes to warnings about corruption within the Church itself. The speculation only added to the third secret's mystique. So, what exactly does this long-hidden message contain? The official version describes a vision of a bishop dressed in white who is killed by soldiers on a hill topped by a cross. It also mentions other religious figures being persecuted and killed, and an angel with a flaming sword crying out, "Penance, penance, penance." But here's where it gets really interesting. Many believe that these symbolic images aren't just about past events. They're a warning about our future. And some say that warning is playing out right now in the United States. Think about it. The bishop in white, could that be a reference to a prominent religious or political figure in America? The persecution of believers. Are we seeing that in the increasing hostility towards religion in some parts of the country? And what about that angel with the flaming sword? Could that represent the moral and social upheavals we're experiencing? As we dive deeper into the third secret, you'll see how each element seems to line up with current events in shocking ways. From political turmoil to religious conflicts, from natural disasters to economic instability, it's as if this century-old prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. But there's one part of the secret that's especially relevant to America today. It's a detail that's often overlooked, but it could be the key to understanding what's really happening in our country right now. Stay tuned, because we're about to reveal how this hidden message from Fatima might be changing the course of American history as we speak. Imagine a powerful figure dressed in white climbing a treacherous mountain. Now picture that same scene unfolding in Washington, D.C. The Third Secret of Fatima describes a vision that's shockingly similar to recent events in American politics. Could this centuries-old prophecy be predicting the fate of one of our most prominent leaders. The vision in the Third Secret is vivid and haunting. It shows a bishop dressed in white struggling up a steep mountain, surrounded by other religious figures. But here's where it gets really intense. The vision ends with the bishop being killed by soldiers. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with America? Well, buckle up, because the connections are about to blow your mind. Some experts believe this bishop in white isn't just a religious figure, it could be a symbol for a major political leader in the U.S. Think about it. Who in American politics wears white and faces intense opposition? That's right. We're talking about some of our most prominent politicians, including recent presidents and presidential candidates. Remember those images of leaders walking up the steps of the Capitol building? It's not hard to see the parallel with the bishop climbing a mountain. And the opposition these leaders face? It's almost like a modern version of the soldiers in the vision. We're not saying it's a literal prediction of assassination, but it could symbolize the intense struggles and attacks our leaders endure. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The vision shows the bishop praying sorrowfully for the dead. Doesn't this remind you of how our leaders often have to console the nation after tragedies? It's like the prophecy is painting a picture of the heavy burdens our top officials carry. Now, before you get too excited, we need to look at this from all angles. Some scholars argue that we shouldn't link this vision to any specific person. They say it's more about the broader struggles of faith and leadership in our time. And they've got a point. The challenges facing religious and political leaders today are pretty universal. These skeptics emphasize that the Third Secret is more about big picture stuff, the trials of the church and society as a whole. They warn against getting too caught up in trying to match every detail to current events. And let's be honest, they've got a good argument. History is full of people who thought they'd cracked the code of prophecy only to be proven wrong. But here's the thing that keeps us up at night. What if they're wrong? What if this vision really is playing out right now in American politics? The parallels are just too striking to ignore completely. So, who could this bishop in white be in today's America? Some theories point to recent presidents who faced unprecedented levels of opposition and criticism. Others suggest it might be about future leaders who will face even greater challenges. The truth is, we can't say for sure, but that's what makes this prophecy so intriguing. It keeps us guessing, watching, and wondering. As we wrap up this part of the Third Secret, remember that this is just one piece of the puzzle. The vision of the bishop in white is powerful, but it's not the only shocking revelation from Fatima. Up next, we're going to explore another symbol from the prophecy, one that might hit even closer to home for many Americans. Get ready, because the connections between this ancient vision and our modern world are about to get even more mind-blowing. You've heard about the bishop in white, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Third Secret of Fatima speaks of an angel with a flaming sword, and its connection to America's current situation is nothing short of chilling. What if this ancient vision is actually a warning about the moral crisis unfolding in our own backyard? The evidence we're about to reveal might change the way you see your neighbors, your leaders, and even yourself. Let's dive into this powerful image from the Third Secret. Picture this: an angel standing tall and mighty, wielding a sword that blazes with fire. It's not just any sword, it's a symbol of divine judgment, ready to strike at a moment's notice. This awe-inspiring figure cries out a warning, repeating the word penance 3 times. It's as if the heavens themselves are trying to wake us up to the dangers we face. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with America today? Well, hold on to your seats, because the connections are startling. Many experts believe that this flaming sword represents a looming judgment, a consequence of our society's moral decline. And when we look at the state of our nation, it's not hard to see why they're worried. Take a moment to consider the moral landscape of America today. We're facing challenges that would have been unthinkable just a few decades ago. The fabric of our society seems to be unraveling at the seams. Family values are eroding, communities are fracturing, and the very concept of right and wrong is up for debate. It's as if we're standing on the edge of a moral precipice, and the angel's flaming sword is a warning of what might happen if we take one step too far. But it's not just about personal morality. Our institutions, the very pillars of our society, are facing their own crises. The Catholic Church, for instance, has been rocked by scandals that have shaken the faith of millions. These revelations of abuse and cover-ups have created a crisis of trust that extends far beyond the church walls. It's exactly the kind of internal turmoil that the Third Secret warns about. And it doesn't stop there. The recent pandemic has added fuel to the fire, forcing church closures and interrupting religious ceremonies. Many believers found themselves isolated, questioning their faith in the face of loss and uncertainty. It's as if the Great Tribulation mentioned in the Fatima prophecy is playing out before our eyes. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some experts argue that we're not just facing a spiritual crisis, we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how our society views religion itself. There's a growing sentiment that Christians, especially Catholics, are facing increased discrimination and marginalization in the U.S. Debates over religious freedom and laws that restrict public religious practices are seen by some as a subtle form of persecution, echoing the warnings of suffering mentioned in the Third Secret. So, how might this divine judgment manifest? Well, some theologians point to the increase in extreme weather events, wildfires, hurricanes, severe droughts, as possible signs. They see these natural disasters as warnings, urging humanity to change its ways before it's too late. But it's not all doom and gloom. Remember, the angel's cry for penance is also a message of hope. It suggests that there's still time to turn things around, to realign our moral compass and avoid the full force of that flaming sword. As we wrap up this section, it's clear that the image of the angel with the flaming sword is more than just an ancient vision. It's a wake-up call for modern America. But the warnings don't stop here. Up next, we'll explore an even more shocking aspect of the Third Secret, one that might be unfolding on our streets right now. Are you ready to learn about the martyrs in our midst? Believe it or not, the Third Secret of Fatima speaks of martyrs. And what if I told you this chilling prophecy might be unfolding right here in the USA today? The vision described in the Third Secret paints a haunting picture of religious figures climbing a steep mountain, passing by the ruins of a half-destroyed city. As they reach the top, they're met with a gruesome fate, execution by a group of soldiers. It's a scene that seems worlds away from our modern American life. Or is it? When we think of martyrs, we often picture ancient Rome or far-off lands where religious persecution is blatant and violent. But what if martyrdom in America today looks different? What if it's not about dramatic executions, but a slow erosion of religious freedoms and a growing hostility towards faith? Recent events in the USA have started to paint a disturbing picture. We're seeing a rise in hate crimes against religious groups that's impossible to ignore. According to the FBI's Hate Crime Statistics Report, in 2020 alone, there were 1,044 incidents reported as anti-religious hate crimes. And here's where it gets really shocking. 62.9% of these targeted Jewish individuals, while 20.5% were aimed at Muslims. While the report doesn't specify the percentage targeting Christians, the overall trend reflects a concerning rise in religious intolerance. But it's not just about outright attacks. We're also witnessing more subtle forms of persecution. Think about the recent legal challenges to religious freedoms, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many religious leaders interpreted restrictions on worship as a form of persecution. They argue that these actions are just the tip of the iceberg, signaling a broader trend of diminishing religious liberties in America. Now, you might be thinking, but this isn't real martyrdom, right? Well, that's where things get interesting. Religious leaders are starting to emphasize the importance of recognizing these signs of persecution as part of a larger narrative of faith and resilience. They argue that the experiences of modern believers facing discrimination can be viewed through the lens of martyrdom. It's not about dying for your faith in the literal sense, but enduring challenges and hostility for your beliefs. This subtle form of martyrdom might be manifesting in ways we don't immediately recognize. It could be the student who's mocked for praying at school, the employee who's passed over for promotion because of their religious beliefs, or the family who faces social ostracism for their faith-based lifestyle choices. These may not be dramatic acts of persecution, but they represent a growing intolerance that aligns eerily well with the warnings in the Third Secret. So, are we really facing a new era of religious persecution in America? Expert opinions are divided. Some see these trends as clear signs that the prophecy is unfolding, warning that we're on a dangerous path towards more overt forms of religious oppression. Others caution against overreaction, arguing that America's religious freedoms are still strong compared to many parts of the world. But here's the thing. Whether or not you believe we're seeing the fulfillment of the Third Secret's vision of martyrs, it's clear that something is changing in America's religious landscape. And as we'll see in our next section, these challenges to faith are just the beginning. The Third Secret has more to reveal about the trials facing the church, and you won't believe how accurately it predicted the scandals that have rocked religious institutions in recent years. You might think you know the full story of the church's recent troubles, but there's a twist that few have considered. Remember those vague warnings in the Third Secret about a crisis within the church? Well, hold on to your seats, because the connection between those cryptic words and today's headlines is about to blow your mind. The Third Secret of Fatima contains dire warnings about the future of the church, hinting at internal strife and challenges that would shake its very foundations. For decades, these predictions seemed abstract, even far-fetched. But as we look at the state of the Catholic Church in America today, it's hard not to see the eerie parallels. Let's face it, the church has been rocked by scandals in recent years, particularly in the United States. The revelation of widespread sexual abuse and subsequent cover-ups has sent shockwaves through congregations across the country. These aren't just isolated incidents. They represent a systemic crisis that has eroded trust in church leadership and institutions. The impact of these scandals on faith and church attendance has been nothing short of devastating. People who once found solace and community in their local parishes are now questioning everything they believed. The pews are emptying, and the once strong voice of the church in American society is growing fainter. But don't just take my word for it. The numbers tell a shocking story. Recent studies show that the percentage of Americans identifying as Catholic has plummeted from 25.1% in 2007 to a mere 20.8% in 2019. That's millions of people walking away from their faith in just over a decade. And this decline isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a broader trend of declining religious affiliation in the U.S. Church leaders aren't blind to this crisis. Many have acknowledged the deep wounds inflicted by these scandals and the urgent need to rebuild trust. But here's the thing. This acknowledgement aligns eerily well with the warnings laid out in the Third Secret. It's as if the seers of Fatima glimpsed this very moment in time, seeing the church grappling with its own failings and fighting to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. And it's not just about the scandals. The church is facing internal divisions that threaten to tear it apart from within. Debates over issues like the role of women, priestly celibacy, and acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals are causing rifts between progressive and conservative factions. These internal struggles mirror the warnings in the Third Secret about future division and suffering within the church. But here's where it gets really interesting and potentially frightening. If the Third Secret accurately predicted these current crises, what else might it be warning us about? Are we just seeing the beginning of the challenges facing the church? Could there be even greater trials ahead? As we grapple with these questions, it's clear that the Third Secret of Fatima is more than just an old prophecy. It's a living document that seems to be unfolding before our eyes. And while the current state of the church might seem bleak, remember that prophecies often contain messages of hope alongside their warnings. But the story doesn't end here. As we'll see in our next section, the Third Secret's predictions extend far beyond the realm of religion. Brace yourself, because we're about to explore how this century-old prophecy might have foreseen America's current economic troubles and what that could mean for our future. Think the Third Secret of Fatima is just about religious matters? Think again. As America's economy teeters on the brink, a chilling parallel emerges between today's financial headlines and the prophecy's cryptic warnings. Could the current economic instability be more than just a coincidence? The Third Secret of Fatima, while primarily focused on spiritual matters, contains hints about global instability that seem eerily relevant to our current economic situation. These ancient warnings, once thought to be purely symbolic, now appear to be unfolding in the financial markets and economic indicators of the United States. Let's take a closer look at the economic challenges gripping America today. Inflation has skyrocketed to levels not seen in decades, with rates hovering around 8.5% as of 2023. This surge in prices is hitting American households hard, making everyday necessities more expensive and eroding the purchasing power of wages. It's as if the prophecy's warnings of turmoil are materializing in our wallets and bank accounts. But inflation is just the tip of the iceberg. The job market, once a pillar of American stability, is now fraught with uncertainty. While unemployment rates have decreased on paper, many workers find themselves underemployed or struggling with wage stagnation. The dream of a stable, well-paying job seems increasingly out of reach for many Americans, echoing the prophecy's hints of widespread instability. Perhaps most alarming is the growing wealth inequality in the United States. Recent reports reveal that the richest 1% of Americans now hold more than 40% of the nation's wealth. This staggering concentration of resources at the top leaves millions of citizens in financial distress, creating a societal divide that the Third Secret might have foreseen in its warnings of global upheaval. Economic experts are sounding the alarm, with many predicting that this combination of high inflation, job market instability, and increasing wealth inequality could lead to a major economic crisis. Some warn that if these trends continue unchecked, the U.S. could face significant economic turmoil in the near future. It's as if the prophecy's foreshadowing of global instability is playing out in real time on Wall Street and Main Street alike. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Third Secret of Fatima isn't just a doom and gloom prediction. It's often interpreted as a call to action, urging societies to recognize and address these issues before they spiral out of control. Could the current economic challenges be a wake-up call, prompting us to reevaluate our financial systems and priorities? The connections between the Third Secret's warnings and our current economic woes are striking. Just as the prophecy speaks of global instability, we're witnessing economic uncertainty on a scale that affects nearly every American. The rapid changes in our financial landscape mirror the dramatic shifts hinted at in the Fatima visions, As we grapple with these economic challenges, it's hard not to wonder, are we living through the fulfillment of a century-old prophecy? And if so, what does that mean for our financial future? The Third Secret of Fatima may have provided us with more than just spiritual guidance. It might have given us a roadmap to navigate the complex economic waters of our time. But the economic implications are just one piece of the puzzle. As we'll explore in our next section, the Third Secret's warnings extend far beyond financial matters. Get ready to uncover the shocking connections between this ancient prophecy and America's changing role on the global stage. The geopolitical revelations ahead might just change how you view international relations forever. As tensions rise between global superpowers, an ancient warning resurfaces with chilling accuracy. The Third Secret of Fatima spoke of a nation that would spread its errors throughout the world. Could this cryptic message be unfolding right before our eyes in America today? The Third Secret of Fatima contains a startling warning about Russia, one that seems to be playing out in real time on the world stage. The prophecy states that if Russia is not converted, it will spread its errors throughout the world, inciting wars and persecutions of the Church. This ominous prediction, made over a century ago, appears to be aligning with current events in ways that are hard to ignore. Recent years have seen a dramatic increase in geopolitical tensions between Russia and the United States. The political landscape in America has become increasingly polarized, with social instability and economic concerns on the rise. Many experts view these developments as potential preludes to more significant global crises, echoing the warnings laid out in the Third Secret. But it's not just about broad geopolitical shifts. The prophecy's warnings seem to be manifesting in specific incidents of Russian interference in American affairs. Allegations of meddling in U.S. elections and sophisticated cyber attacks have dominated headlines, raising serious concerns about national security and the integrity of democratic processes. These actions, if true, could be seen as modern manifestations of Russia spreading its errors as foretold in the prophecy. Experts analyzing Russia's global strategy have noted a disturbing trend. It appears that Russia is actively exploiting divisions within Western democracies, including the United States. This approach could have far-reaching implications for U.S. foreign policy and national security. The Third Secret's emphasis on Russia's role in global affairs seems to be playing out in these complex international dynamics. As tensions continue to escalate, the potential for conflict looms larger. The prophecy's warning about wars incited by Russia's actions takes on a new, urgent meaning in light of recent events. While we're not facing open warfare, the ongoing cyber conflicts and information warfare could be seen as modern equivalents of the struggles foreseen in the Third Secret. But what does this mean for the future? The prophecy doesn't just warn of conflict, it also speaks of the possibility of conversion and change. Could there be a path to de-escalation and cooperation between Russia and the USA? Or are we destined for further conflict as the prophecy unfolds? As we grapple with these questions, it's clear that the relationship between Russia and the United States will continue to be a critical factor in global stability. The Third Secret's focus on Russia's role seems more relevant than ever, urging us to pay close attention to how these international dynamics evolve. But Russia's influence is just one piece of the prophetic puzzle. As we'll explore in our next section, the Third Secret of Fatima contains warnings about events that hit even closer to home for many Americans. Get ready to uncover the shocking connections between this century-old vision and the natural disasters that have been making headlines across the USA. The parallels we're about to reveal might change the way you view these catastrophic events forever. As the smoke clears from yet another devastating wildfire and coastal communities pick up the pieces after a record-breaking hurricane season, a disturbing question arises. Could these disasters be more than just bad luck? The Third Secret of Fatima might hold the key to understanding why America seems to be in nature's crosshairs. The Third Secret of Fatima, revealed in 2000 after decades of secrecy, contains chilling references to global calamities. While many interpreted these warnings as symbolic, recent events in the United States have some experts wondering if we're witnessing the literal fulfillment of this century-old prophecy. In recent years, America has experienced a dramatic surge in extreme weather events. Wildfires have ravaged the West Coast, reducing entire towns to ashes. Hurricanes of unprecedented strength have battered our shores, leaving destruction in their wake. Severe droughts have parched vast swaths of farmland, threatening food security. It's as if the very elements themselves are rebelling against us. The statistics are staggering. Over the past decade, the frequency and severity of natural disasters in the USA have risen significantly. Major hurricanes and wildfires are occurring more often, causing unprecedented damage. The financial toll is equally alarming, with the costs of these disasters reaching billions of dollars annually. This trend raises serious questions about the sustainability of our current practices and our ability to cope with an increasingly hostile environment. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some theologians and prophecy scholars see these catastrophes as more than just the results of climate change. They interpret these events as divine warnings, echoing the urgency of the Third Secret's call for humanity to change its ways. It's as if nature itself is crying out, urging us to heed the prophecy's message before it's too late. Religious leaders have begun to draw parallels between the increasing frequency of natural disasters and the Great Tribulation mentioned in the Fatima prophecy. They suggest that these events are not just environmental phenomena, but signs of a deeper moral and spiritual crisis. It's a perspective that adds a whole new dimension to our understanding of these calamities. The Third Secret's references to global calamities are being interpreted by some as a warning about the consequences of humanity's actions, particularly in relation to environmental stewardship. Could our treatment of the planet be inviting the very disasters the prophecy foretold? It's a sobering thought that challenges us to reconsider our relationship with the natural world. As we grapple with the aftermath of each new disaster, the words of the Third Secret seem to echo louder. The images of devastation, from the charred remains of California forests to the flooded streets of coastal cities, serve as stark reminders of our vulnerability and the potential accuracy of this ancient warning. But the Third Secret isn't just about doom and gloom. Like many prophecies, it offers hope alongside its warnings. The message seems clear. There's still time to change course, to heed the warnings and avert further catastrophe. The question is, will we listen? As we stand at this critical juncture, facing the fury of nature and the weight of prophecy, one thing becomes clear. The final warning of the Third Secret of Fatima may be more urgent and relevant than ever before. In our next section, we'll explore what this ancient message says about the crucial choice America faces today, a choice that could determine not just our future, but the fate of the world. You might think you know what's at stake for America's future, but the Third Secret of Fatima paints a picture so alarming it was kept hidden for decades. What does this century-old prophecy reveal about the choice facing our nation today? The answer could shake you to your core. The Third Secret of Fatima isn't just a historical curiosity. It's the urgent call to action for America right now. At its heart, this prophecy is a desperate plea for repentance and change. It's as if Our Lady of Fatima herself is reaching across time, warning us about the consequences of our current path and offering a lifeline of hope. America stands at a critical crossroads. Politically, we're more divided than ever. Socially, the fabric of our communities is fraying. Spiritually, many are losing their way. It's a perfect storm of crises, eerily mirroring the warnings laid out in the Third Secret. But here's the kicker. This prophecy isn't just about identifying problems. It's about showing us a way forward. So what happens if we ignore these warnings? The potential consequences are chilling. Some experts warn of economic collapse, social unrest, and even more severe natural disasters. Others point to the possibility of America losing its place on the world stage, falling victim to the very forces the prophecy warned about decades ago. It's a future that none of us want to imagine, but one that feels increasingly possible with each passing day. But there's hope. Religious leaders and scholars who've studied the Third Secret emphasize that it's not a death sentence. It's a wake-up call. They believe that by taking specific actions, we can avert the calamities the prophecy warns about. It's like we've been given a cosmic cheat sheet for avoiding disaster. So what are these crucial steps? First and foremost, there's a call for a return to prayer and spiritual renewal. The message from Fatima encourages a deepening of our prayer lives, suggesting that this spiritual practice could be key to changing our course. It's not just about individual actions, though. There's also a call for societal repentance, a collective acknowledgement of where we've gone wrong and a commitment to do better. Experts also point to the importance of living with integrity and love. The prophecy seems to suggest that by embodying these values, we can create a ripple effect of positive change. It's about more than just avoiding disaster. It's about actively creating a better future. As we stand on this precipice, the potential futures for America diverge dramatically. On one path, we face the consequences warned about in the prophecy, a future of turmoil and hardship. But on the other, there's a vision of renewal and hope, a future where America embraces its highest ideals and becomes a force for good in the world. The choice is ours. Will we heed the warnings of Fatima? Will we take the steps needed to change our course? Or will we continue down our current path, ignoring the urgent message that's been preserved for over a century? As we wrap up this exploration of the Third Secret, it's clear that its message isn't just about the past. It's a living prophecy that's unfolding right now in America. In our final section, we'll bring all these threads together and explore what this means for each of us personally. Get ready, because the most shocking revelation is yet to come. The Third Secret of Fatima isn't just ancient history. It's a living prophecy unfolding in America right now. From political turmoil to natural disasters, we're seeing the warnings play out before our eyes. But there's still hope. Our Lady of Fatima's message urges us to renew our spiritual lives and deepen our prayer practices, especially the daily rosary. It's a call for personal and communal action. Take a moment to reflect on how these prophecies might be relevant in your own life. Consider reintroducing prayer into your daily routine or joining a community prayer group. Study the teachings about Fatima to understand its implications for our society. Remember, prophecy offers not just warnings, but hope for those who listen. The choice is yours. Will you heed the call